from 11 to 1. Do you know how many students I've seen there who have come in? 0. I have 70 students. Nobody's come in. You know, I want to survey you. Maybe on Wednesday I'll survey you, but I wondered whether having the videos gives a false sense of security. Because that's kind of what I felt like with the students that were looking at it on Sunday, like they just didn't come to class or didn't pay attention in class, thinking that they could, oh, I can just watch the videos, but it's like a heavy amount of stuff. And so when you're watching it all at once, it's just so nightmarish. It was a nightmare for them and me, both. So I don't know if like that false sense of security is there, like, oh, I can just go to the videos, I'll just go to the videos, and then that day comes and you're like, holy moly, there's a lot of stuff on the videos. But I wonder if this propagates that or promotes that. We're sitting up a little closer today, so no back rows. Okay, I'm starting, the reason I'm putting these things in place is not just because I feel like things have kind of fallen apart a little bit. I also know the stuff that's coming now is really, it's tougher to understand. So it's going to get more challenging. The procedures are going to get more involved, and the why becomes, and all the motivation of what we're really doing, you have to fully understand things. And so I want you to bear with me. I put things together very carefully in an algorithm so that you can understand it. But I first want to motivate you to understand why, and why we're doing some of the things we're doing. What you're looking at is something that our group is very familiar with, and that's body mass index. So a body mass index is a proxy for fat. It's easy to calculate proxy for fat. So if you get someone in a doctor's office, it's very simple to calculate their height and weight. Hopefully they don't ask you. I told you that before, that's a problem. If someone's asking someone, how tall are you? Guys always overestimate their height, and women always underestimate their weight. So you want to actually get that as a direct measurement. But once you get that as a direct measurement, you can, it's actually true, we have data showing that. You can calculate something called the body mass index, which is your weight divided by your height squared. You have to mod out for height because, for example, you're pretty tall. And you know, you and I might be the same weight, but I might be the one in trouble because I'm shorter. So the height has to come into play when we look at something called body mass index. So people want to know, what is too much? You go to the doctor's office and they say, your BMI is 27, and they leave you. Wouldn't you want to know, is that bad? Is that good? You want a diagnosis from that. So in medicine, we make a lot of cutoffs for diagnoses. So what you're looking at here is what's called the hazard ratio for mortality against BMI on the x-axis. Hazard ratio is a number that tells you your risk based off of this input, your risk for death. So at 1, it's neutral. So if the hazard ratio is 1, there's no effect. If the hazard ratio is less than 1, you have a protective effect. If the hazard ratio is above 1, it's bad. It means that thing being that high actually has a negative effect on your survival rates. So it's not a good thing to be over 1. And what you see here is that below kind of 25, the values here are all above 1. That's why they made this line 1, so you can see that 1's at critical place. And so here you see that that below 25, or it looks like kind of below 25, you're having an issue. 25 is the cutoff for normal weight. BMI of 25 is the cutoff. So we made a joke once. We asked each other what our BMI is, which is for all obesity researchers. So one guy said, I keep mine right at 25. So we're controlling our weight in such a way so we keep it there. Where is it most protective? At what value of BMI does it look like it's most protective for your survival rates? Can you see? Around 20, like a little bit right too. It's where the minima, they call it the natter, right? The natter, we call it minima in math, but everywhere else they call it something else. Right here, the lowest point on this curve is where your body mass index is most protective. And what they found is it's actually in the overweight section between 25 and 30. That was published in JAMA, I think in January 2013 on purpose, right when New Year's resolutions are going on. So they published that, and people were upset by that because this is the overweight category. And so in being overweight looks like it's slightly protective. It's there and it's been well documented and there's nothing wrong with the statistics. And we can see it here. So knowing that point where that hits the minimum is where you'd like to inform patients if they have a BMI classifying them as overweight. Well, actually, you know what? You're not bad off. It's not that bad. Right at here, where do you see it becoming a problem again, where the hazard starts to go up? 30, right? You see it 30 right here? It looks like a 20 maybe with the funny numerals, but right here, you hit hazard of 1, and then here, your mortality starts to increase the higher you go up with BMI. So, and we know that when you have a BMI of 40, you have 5 to 10 years of life lost in comparison to down here. So 30 is the cutoff for obesity. So if you have a BMI of 30 or above, you're at risk. You're at higher risk for lower survival rates. Question, Andy? Well, people love to talk about BMI. There's a great blog that just brought that up again. BMI is the quickest way you can get it's a really good estimate actually of adiposity. You can get a percentage like 89% accuracy between predictions of BMI versus adiposity. That ain't bad for just a height and a weight. So the problem that we have even in the health center here, not everybody's weighed. You know, we're trying to get them to weigh all the students when they come in because weight is a marker of health and is so easy to get. But when they're seeing 50 patients a day in there, they can't weigh everybody. So for weight and height, you ask someone to get a waist circumference, that's a pretty hard measurement to get. Because if someone has obesity, they have to take a pen and mark the spots up the iliac crest so they get that measurement correct. So it's not easy to get that measurement. So you can do a waist circumference and get another measurement for an athlete. But we're homosedentarious. I think 2.7% is the amount of people who get the right amount of physical activity in the United States. So I would say, don't worry about that population. They're fine anyways. You know, the rest of us, BMI does a pretty good job. So you're thinking about yourself? Probably not, right? If they're bodybuilders and they're classified, yeah, most of us are not bodybuilders.
Is it age specific as well? So if you were looking at like, 18 to 30-year-olds, would it be like 22, 23 BMI would be?
Right. So if you're interested, I can send you this article. They did find that I think in African American males, the mortality was mortality was better actually for BMI as a correlate. But send me an email and I will send you that paper because it's pretty interesting looking at it. So I always tell my all the aunties in my family, if you're overweight, it's okay actually, and they believe hypothesizing here that has to do with osteoporosis in women, that being a slightly overweight actually is protective against broken bones. You know, have you ever seen a frail person when they're older? It's not that good of a thing to have, and that's why you see on the other end of the curve, this hazard goes up again. Being here, you're not on the bodybuilding section if you're here because you have low lean mass. People who have high lean mass are more protected. People who have low lean mass, these are frail people. So that's why they're more on the other end. So why do we want to do the next thing we're going to do? We need to understand the shape of graphs. They tell us the cutoffs of how to prescribe diagnosis to patients. So they give us a lot of information, and they tell us ourselves about ourselves. You know, where do we stand on this curve? I am artificially right here. So, you know, people hate to get in that conversation, but when I go to India, they think I'm sick because everybody there's slightly chunky. So they'll say, you know, you're dieting. Why are you like this? And then I'll tell them, actually, I'm at a healthy BMI. I'm right at 23, 24. I'm right in the range of normal BMI. I know where I'm supposed to be. So that's the optimal cutoff, and the hazard goes up at 30. So this is what we want to do, is analyze graphs. And that's what I'd like to do. Going forward, I'd like to take medical graphs and actually analyze them in this way so we can make a diagnosis. And for the few of you that are in sustainability studies, I'm going to pair up with Dr. Taylor and find applications for you so that they're for your discipline. So I think there's a few of you in here. Okay, so
we're going to go to a section, and I'm going to